All right, so we are just doing one more day of graphing and then we are all done. This is your last assignment, guys. So this is just stating the properties once you've got this equation graphed. So we can see here it says graph the equation on the accompanying set of axes. You must include 5 points, including the roots and vertex. And then it says write the equation for the axis of symmetry. So we can see here we'll do our opposite of b over 2a, and a being our -1. So I can see by simplifying this, I'm going to get 2 over -2, which is just going to make -1 for my x-axis. So right off the bat there, I know that my axis of symmetry, that was a little crazy there, um, my axis of symmetry is x equals -1. So that's going to be a solution I'm going to use in a little bit. So then I'm going to plug this in, and I'm going to plug these numbers into my calculator just because it's easier for me to type this all in. Plus 8. And I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to take a little shortcut. You're going to make your table of values with your 5 points, -3, -2, -1, 0, +1, and kind of work your magic from there. So um, if we were saying -1 is our vertex, then we can see I'm going to plug in and I get 9 is the y value of the vertex. And then I can see I'm going to have -2, 8, and that means 0. So if I plugged in 0, I can see my y-intercept is also going to be 8. And then I would plug in, if I plugged in 1, that would be -1, or 1 squared is 1 times -1 is -1. Minus 2 times 1, so that'd be -2, plus 8, that would give me 5. So I'm just plugging numbers in, and since it's symmetrical, I know that this would also be 5. Now here's the issue. We don't have the roots plotted on the graph, but I can see here now that it's given me the curve, I can see my root is at -4. We've reached the limit allowed, so I can't actually use that, but I can see that my root is at -4 and +2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these couple of points at the top, and I'm going to plug in now my roots so that I can see my graph. So there's my graph, and since I'm writing the equation for the axis of symmetry, I need to write one equation, and I need to type in x equals -1 for my solution. And now I can go ahead and hit submit, yes, and we're done. So it's just showing you how we get all of those values. Here you can see where they've got their axis of symmetry drawn and identified within the equation. So that's really all it is. It's the same stuff we've been doing, but it has an extra step then of identifying your extra parts. So here we have basically, it's very, very close to the same equation. We can see this graph is going to open up because our A value is positive, and our B value, we have 8, and C is 12. So opposite of B is going to be -8 over 2 times A. Well, that's just going to be 2 times 1, which is 2. So we're going to get our axis of symmetry to be -4 this time. So I'm just going to try and draw as best I can a nice little equation there. And so then I'm going to just really quickly type these numbers into my calculator to make this easier on me and come up with my points. So if I was drawing my table, I would plug in -4 for my x squared. So that would give me a +16. 8 times -4 would be a -32. And then we have plus 12. And if I typed that into my calculator, which I've already done, I can see that my vertex should be -4. So I should get the point -4, -4. And then we're going to have a graph that opens upward because A is positive. So if I plugged in -3, I would have 9 here. 8 times -3 would be -24, so that gives me -15. Plus 12 gives me -3. And then, of course, my graph is symmetrical. And then if I plugged in -2, I should end up with, so that'd be 4 minus 16 would be -12, plus 12 gives me 0. So I can see here, there's my roots. I've got my vertex, and so then it says we want to identify the roots of the equation. That was this part right here, determine the roots. And we can see our roots on our graph are these two values. So I'm going to use my answer type as, so it doesn't say 2 points, it says 2 numbers this time. but that's still the same idea. So my roots would be at -6 and at -2. And then I can submit and get my answer. You can see here they've highlighted, there's their roots in green if we were plugging, if I had written out my table of value. And you can see here again, they've highlighted them on the graph for us as well. So that's really all there is to it. It's the same stuff we've been doing. It's just a matter of um, answering the second half of the question, some more key features to the graph. So this is just another one with axis of symmetry, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to let you guys go ahead and try those. And I just 5 problems for homework tonight. That's it. That's all you're doing, and that's your last assignment. So I miss you guys, and I hope that you have an excellent summer. And I will see you next year.